What's up, boxing people? So the women have been delivering so many good and big fights over the past couple years, and this quarter 4 of 2023 is going to be no different. And one thing I wanted to cover was the upcoming fights that are going to shape 2024, because we got some fights that are going to completely change the landscape of 2024. And I also want to go into why these fights coming up so meaningful and the ripple effect that they will have. And the first fight that I think of when we're talking about fights that are going to be changing 2024 going forward, look no further than Amanda Serrano versus Ramos. So Serrano versus Ramos, you know, is 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds. And I've given that a lot of attention, did a video on that, feel free to check it out. But this could be huge. And I hope that it is huge, or it turns out to be huge, and we do start to see some changes. And mainly because when you look at it, there's so many fighters that are on board with it. Of course, you know what my own thoughts are. I was wondering why not 12-2, but if it is 12-3 and more fighters want to get on board, I just want everybody doing the same thing. Everyone should be doing the same thing. You shouldn't have some championship fights being 10 rounds, 2 minutes, and others being 12-3. Everybody needs to get on the same page. That's my only issue with the 12-3, but it's really not an issue with the 12-3 itself. I hope the event is successful, and that could be a ripple effect because more fighters could be requesting this. You got Mayer at 147. You got Estrada at minimum weight. You got Tasha Jonas at 147. So we might get Jonas Mayer for 12 3-minute rounds. That would be special. That would continue to trend. So that's something to look forward to going forward, because both of those fighters are on board with 12-3-minute rounds. But there are other fights that are going to play a huge role and shape 2024. Cameron versus Taylor 2, because the winner of this fight has places to go, but it's very different for each fighter. For Chantel Cameron, she would have to go up to 147. And you're like, why would she have to go up to 147? Look at Chantel Cameron's last few fights. She fought Jessica McCaskill. She fought Katie Taylor, and now she's fighting Katie Taylor again. Those are 3 big fights for her. She's undisputed at 140, and there's nobody at 140 that's going to offer her any big fight. No one. So the only place for her to go is up at 147, because Katie Taylor wouldn't even fight her at 135 because she wanted a chance to be undisputed in another weight class, but she wasn't provided that. So she has to go up. 147 is where Chantel Cameron will go, in my opinion, if she beats Katie Taylor, because there's nothing left at 140. And that is really going to change the landscape when you think about 147, because 147 has fighters like Michaela Mayer, Natasha Jonas. We could get Terry Harper going to 147. You have up and comers like Lauren Price. So 147 is going to be the division to watch. And let's just say Katie Taylor won. So if Katie Taylor won, she goes back to 135, because 140 is not her division. Even if she wins, she's dropping the belts. She's not staying at 140. She's gonna go back to 135. But who is she gonna fight? Is she gonna take a voluntary against a Rhiannon Dixon? Who else is she gonna fight to have a big payday? My thoughts were, is if Alicia Baumgartner gets through what she's getting through right now, maybe she fights her. She could fight Alicia Baumgartner at 135. That would be a good fight. But aside from that, there's not many big fights left for Taylor when you think about it. But I do think that's where she goes, and that's probably what we're looking at. Another big undisputed versus undisputed fight at 135 for Katie Taylor, or a voluntary defense. So with that being said, if Katie Taylor wins, the scene stays similar, but I still expect Chantel Cameron to move up. So 140, I think those belts are going to fragment in 2024, at least at 140. But at 135, I don't think much changes as far as the belts fragment. I think Katie Taylor will stay there and defend. At featherweight, we have more big fights. So you already know about the Amanda Serrano fight against Ramos, but that's 12-3. But you also got Nicolson versus Wildheart. That's going to be on the undercard of Cameron versus Taylor 2. That is for the WBC interim featherweight title. So you're putting yourself right in position to go against Serrano for the WBC title. The only interesting thing is the WBC will not be doing 3-minute rounds. So will Serrano drop that belt? If they do not, I wonder how that's going to play out. Will she defend at 2-minute rounds for 10 minutes? That's another thing for another day. But the focus here is on Nicolson and Wildheart. This is a tremendous fight. Wildheart is a very good boxer. She moved up 2 weight divisions to fight Mayer. She fought Mayer at 135 on very short notice, and she acquitted herself extremely well. It was just the size difference was just too much. Mayer was towering over. She was definitely bigger. She was hammering her body too, and Wildheart just kept coming. So lots of heart in Wildheart. And I expect this to be a very tough fight. And we're going to learn a lot about Nicolson in this fight. In addition to that, you have Raven Chapman, who's a boxer puncher in this division. I love Raven Chapman. I think her and Skye Nicolson, whoever wins Skye Nicolson, Lucy Wildheart, that's who I want to see. And it makes sense because Raven Chapman is fighting for the WBC International Featherweight Champion on December 2nd. So you could see the winner of Nicolson and Chapman being mandated in case Amanda Serrano drops the belt. And that's part of the shifting landscape in 2024 that we can see at featherweight. Because right now, Amanda Serrano holds all the cards. She's the undisputed champ. But for how much longer is she going to be the undisputed champ? Like we were talking about, if Katie Taylor wins, Amanda Serrano could go fight Katie Taylor at 135. That's probably the next fight for Katie Taylor, if not Baumgartner. And that could leave the WBC belt either vacated by Amanda Serrano, or they could just hold on to it, and that leaves room for a Raven Chapman versus Skye Nicolson fight. And I would love to see that. The problem is competing promotional companies. That's going to be the main issue there, with Chapman with Queensberry, Nicolson with DAZN. But if Wildheart, Nicholson's with Matchroom, so Nicolson with Matchroom. But if Wildheart wins, that definitely makes it easier for the fight to be made because Wildheart isn't associated with Matchroom. So you have Wildheart versus Chapman. But either way, the fights just need to be made. That's what I want to focus on, not all the promotional bickering that could take place. But the shifting landscape for featherweight, that's what it would be. Nicolson, Chapman are coming. I'm telling you, look forward to one of them possessing one of those belts in 2024. As Amanda Serrano might have her sights set on other things, like a Katie Taylor fight, but it all depends on the outcome. That's why all these fights are so huge. When you look at super bantamweight, you got Rivas versus Cruz. So Marilyn Rivas going against Erica Cruz, November 18th. That's going to be in a YouTube theater in LA, in America, and that's going to be a heck of a fight. You know Cruz brings it. Rivas is a tremendous fighter, always looked at as her being the class of super bantamweight. Ellie Scottney is coming, don't get me wrong. But Rivas, she's just been there. She's been there longer. She has a great style. She can fight off the back foot very well. She can come forward. And she will knock you out. She does have some pop. And Erica Cruz will be coming forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how that fight plays out. But you also have Sigaline Lefebvre against Tycee Gallagher. Now, Tycee Gallagher, she can win this fight. She can absolutely win this fight. She's actually coming up in weight for this fight. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think it still works in her favor because it's not like Lefebvre is a boxer puncher. She is a good boxer, but so is Gallagher. And so when you have two good boxers that are in the ring, it's just going to be who has the better style. And I actually favor Gallagher. It's going to be tough. It's going to be extremely tough against Lefebvre, but I definitely can see Gallagher pulling out the win. But this is the first time on this stage for her. So how will she react? That's going to be on 24 November, so that's a week after Rivas Cruz, and that's another way that 2024 can be shaped because you have some young guns that are coming up right behind them. So you have Mikiah Kreps, who's coming up. You got Bree Howling, who I know put on Instagram that she's a free agent, and she's mulling over some offers, so who knows which way she's going to go, but she plans on making a decision very soon. That's another fighter that you're going to have to watch out for in the division. And I see in 2024, we could see some unifications there. Because don't forget about Ramla Ali. Ramla Ali is rematching Guzman after Guzman knocked her out earlier in the year. And if Ali wins, expect Ali Mercado. So what I'm really looking forward to, especially in 2024, when you're talking about the 122-pound division, I'm seeing some unifications in sight for super bantamweight. Expect super bantamweight to get unified in 2024. And it's going to be Rivas. Whoever the Rivas Cruz winner is, will be facing off against Scottney. And whoever Mercado, if Mercado can't face Ali, we might see Mercado face De La Fevre versus Gallagher winner. There's going to be some movement, but those fights that are coming up are definitely going to shape 2024, especially for super bantamweight division. So look out for those as the year closes. For bantamweight, we got Ebony Bridges back in the house. So it's good to see Bridges back. She's going to be on the Haney Pro Grade undercard. She'll be defending her IBF bantamweight title. So that's great. It's good that she's back. I know she had injured herself. Glad that she's going to be on this card. And you know this is a tune-up. This is a tune-up with Avro Mathie. So I expect Bridges to get through this. So you're saying, how is this going to shape 2024? Well, it's going to shape 2024 because if Bridges wins, expect a unification fight between her and Nina Hughes. So you get that unification fight between her and Nina Hughes, And that's going to set up a fight with Dina Thorslund. The winner of those two should fight Thorslund, and we will have the bantamweight division completely unified in 2024. And you always can't forget who's coming up behind them. So the vacant IBF Intercontinental Bantamweight Championship is on the line. Yoshida against Sharita Metcalf on November 7th. So all these fighters they're fighting like a month apart, putting themselves in position so they can challenge Ebony Bridges in a mandatory position. You got Krystal Rosado. She's coming up. You're not going to see her taking on any title contenders anytime soon, but it is someone you need to watch. And you're wondering, how does that shape 2024? Because she's in the division and she's coming. She's backed by Amanda Serrano. So you know she's going to have the support. And depending on how well she does and how hard she's pushed, towards the end of 2024, you might see her and might say, hey, what about Krystal Rosado pushing for one of these titles, depending on what happens at bantamweight. But don't get me wrong, I do not expect Krystal Rosado to be in any title conversations until at earliest 2025 or more. Just let her develop, let her take her time, no need to rush. But whose time it is Thorslund, Bridges, Hughes. Those are the names to remember as we go into 2024, because the Bridges Mathie winner will be taking on Nina Hughes for unification. And that's how that comes into play. At flyweight, you have Gabriela Fundora taking on Arlie Mucino. Arlie Mucino is the champion. She's the IBF champ. And I'm telling you, Gabriela Fundora, I expect her to take that belt off her. And that's how that's going to affect 2024, because I was originally expecting Mucino to take on Esparza in a unification. They're both with Golden Boy. I thought they were going to be able to do that, but instead, Fundora, she's the mandatory. She's getting her fight with Mucino, and now that she has that fight, I think she's going to take that belt. I think she's going to win by unanimous decision, and then she will be in position to take on the current queen of flyweight, Marlene Esparza. So don't be surprised if you start. I think this fight is a coming out fight. Call it her coming out party for Gabriela Fundora. People are going to see she is good. She's talented. Her era starts now. She's extremely young, 21 years old, and she can go up multiple weight classes. So even if she doesn't fight Esparza at flyweight, you might see her at super flyweight. But right now, she might have time to actually get that chance against Esparza, and win or lose, she's already been a champion, and then she can move up. But there is business first. She does have to beat Mucino, but I definitely see her beating Mucino, and we'll have to see. I don't think it's too much too soon, based off of what I've seen from Mucino. So be on the lookout for that fight, October 21st on the Rocha Centillon card. And Yoshida Valle is back. The unified champ at minimum weight is back in November, fighting Ortiz. What I love about Valle, she is so active. She's extremely active. And I know Sinisa Estrada hurt her hands, and I really wanted that fight for Undisputed. But Yoshida Valle is putting in work. She is staying active. And she even said, you know, Estrada, she wants her to get healthy, but it's not going to change her plans. And it hasn't. She's continuing the fight. But hopefully after this one, if Estrada is healed up, if she doesn't want a fight first, and I think Estrada might want to fight similar to Bridges because she wants to see how that hand is going to respond. But even if that's the case, 2024 is the year for Estrada Valle. 2024 is the year for Estrada Valle. It's got to be. So those are all the fights that I think are going to shape 2024 that are happening here in quarter 4 2023. Let me know what you guys think. Is there a fight that I missed? Is there another fight that you think is going to play a major factor or a major role going into 2024? I would love to hear it, but that's all I have for this one. Appreciate y'all stopping by the channel, hearing me out, and just taking in some boxing as a whole. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.